Everyone, how are you today? I hope excellent. My name is Christine Dosty, and I help women with energetic misalignments, blocks, and resistance to getting into your higher state of consciousness. I am here today with a microdose of sacred vitality. Today we are going to talk about the Crown Chakra. So before we get into it, sit up nice and tall, take that deep breath. Connect to your heart center. Another deep breath. Filling up the lungs and all the space with love. Drop that grounding cord down into the earth, releasing any stress or tension you have in this moment, and draw up that grounding, supportive earth energy. Take another grounding cord into the heavens and draw down the divine energy as it spirals down into the top of your head, down your shoulders and arms, down the front and back of your torso and your hips and down your legs. Let that flush through your whole body, including, of course, all your chakra centers. Today I will be explaining why I do this all the time. So as I'm talking, just allow that to flush through the body, bringing in that golden white pearlescent light, and let it swoop down the back and up the front, down the back and up the front, and from the earth down into the heavens. You can allow everything to pool in the heart center, or let it wash through your body as it desires and is needed. So today we're talking about the Crown Chakra. This one sits up here, even a little bit above the head. This is the chakra for consciousness. It's about thought and information. It's about understanding. It's definitely about transcendence. This one has no correlation to an element. It is consciousness. So it is, we're getting very deep today, or high, elevated, or evolved, or enlightened, whichever word you want to use, but we are definitely completely out of the realm of any physical matter and into the realm of full spiritual. So this chakra is about the right to know and the right to understand. And on this level, we are not talking about the right to know certain information or even the right to understand what people are saying to you. We are talking about the universe, the big secrets, the mystery, what's going on behind the curtain. We're talking about universal identity and cosmic consciousness. So when you hear people talk about a collective conscious field, this taps into that realm. When we're talking about a morphogenic field or the field of all of consciousness in the universe, a divine intelligence, this is also the gateway through this chakra to tap into that level. This is about really having deep self-knowledge, not really a do I like cheeseburgers versus salads kind of level, but a much deeper level where you understand and you believe, and it's part of your being, that you are part and parcel of the universe and connected to everything and one and the same. There's a lot going on there. The demon of this chakra is attachment. And it's easy to see that we get attached to ideas, attached to people, attached to habits, attached to beliefs, attached to rituals and patterns and the way we live our lives. We are creatures of habit. I mean, I'm sure you brush your teeth the same. I'm sure you drive to work the same route every day. And when change comes up, like it did in the last few months, we don't handle it very well because we are attached to feeling like we understand that life is supposed to be a certain way. But it's not. But that helps us in our routines and feeling grounded and centered. So the goal of this chakra really is about reaching a place where the underlying meaning of life is really ultimately perceived, where you can connect to the formless, the limitless, the chaos, the total abundance that exists everywhere in the universe, and understand on a cellular level that you are always connected to that. So through the crown chakra is where we reach out into this infinite field of divine energy, and then we run it down through all the other chakras, bringing awareness and recognition and the ability to manifest, which is why I have us connect every day, because we're bringing down unlimited potential, unlimited abundance, unlimitlessness, and bringing it into our bodies, refreshing ourselves, refreshing our mindset, refreshing our ability to deal with stress and change, and to have that resilience of spirit and energy. So a lot that we can do with working with this crown chakra is in restructuring the morphogenic field. If you've never heard of a morphogenic field before, it is a field, a biological field that is created by repetitious patterns that are done over and over again through the cells, and they affect our cells and give shape. So the cells in our body, the arm cells always create the arms, right? Like over generations. So this involves epigenetics, but it also involves patterns and habits. For example, if your pattern or habit is to be physically active, then if you're not physically active, you feel a conflict and you feel sluggish and run down because you're not honoring your morphogenic field and your pattern. However, when you're doing something new and it's outside of the scope of your morphogenic field, then you will feel uncomfortable when you're doing it, and it might make you want to go back into your comfort zone, which is the morphogenic field that you're giving off. This is also how we unconsciously relate to other people. So that's where you get your what kind of person is this? An introvert, an extrovert, a sociable person, a helper, a leader, like what kind of person? This is also given off in your morphogenic field. And even cultures and communities have morphogenic fields. So a Chinese culture is going to have a very different morphogenic field than, say, a European culture. There's like their vibe that they give off, right? They're different. And you can work with reprogramming your morphogenic field. So if you're having issues where it's like, I'm always treated badly in relationships, or people always dump all their work on me, and I don't understand why that happens, because on a certain level, I feel like that's not who I am. But on a subconscious level, that might be what you're giving off to people. So that's where some work is done. And obviously, with this level, we want to connect to the divine intelligence, the source of all manifestation. And we use that to help us understand our own patterns, which connect us all to each other. So it's also important at this level to discuss consciousness. Now, there are two types of consciousness and 3 levels of consciousness. It's a lot of consciousness. So on the 2 types of consciousness, there is what we call cognitive consciousness. And this is finite and particular, and we're sorting and organizing information. And this is where we live most of our everyday lives, and we want things done in a logical way and the information to come to us in a certain way. And we handle ourselves rationally. But then there's also transcendent consciousness, which is really being able to get to the awareness of life on a bigger level. And when you're in this state of consciousness, they call it the observer. You kind of see above yourself the actions that you're taking, the reactions that you're having, and you're kind of observing yourself while you're doing these things. It's a strange thing to say, but if you've been in this state, then you know exactly what I'm talking about, where you kind of observe what you want to say or want to do, but you don't do it, and then you've got this other monologue in your head saying like, oh, that's interesting, like, why would I want to say that? But when you get into the observer state, that's where you can see truly and honestly what you're doing and what triggers you're having and how to change your morphogenic field. Now, with the morphogenic field, that's built a lot by core beliefs, because our beliefs affect our biology. So even the sicknesses or the physical aches and pains that we're having is part and parcel to what's going on in the morphogenic field. Just a side note with that, it's like we do a lot by example. So our morphogenic fields can stay the way they are because they don't know any better. But it's like people didn't understand what flying was until someone went and made an airplane and then started to fly. Everyone's morphogenic field then had to change and grow to the understanding that, oh, flying is like possible, to the point where now everyone born just takes flying for granted. But once upon a time, that wasn't a thing that people even knew was possible. So that's the thing where it's like you can use modeling, especially modeling yourself after successful people or people that are doing what you want, because they're living proof that it's possible. If they can do it, then you can do it. So the 3 levels of consciousness, we have the subconscious, where all of our programming is actually kept and is run by like a crazy little 5-year-old, doesn't know what's going on and has all these files and patterns but no wisdom. And then we have the conscious, and it's like very physical and in the body, right? That's reactions, emotions, the chemicals and all that. Then we have the conscious level, which is where our intellect, and we communicate and give meaning to what we're doing, and it's based largely on the beliefs that we have buried in the subconscious. And then we have the superconscious state, which is where we get to when we start to awaken and evolve. And it's really that connection to the divine, that connection to our higher self. And when we evolve, we are basically moving from the conscious state to the superconscious state. Can we stay there all the time? No, we cannot, but because we're not practiced in doing it. But there are people who do it. And they practice all the time. And so they practice having the stamina and the ability to stay at that superconscious level. So yes, it's possible. But most of us, when we're absent-minded and scrolling and just in our routines, we're not even really conscious. So we've slipped into the subconscious, just running on automatic. So the more consciousness you have, the more ability you have to change the subconscious programming and to connect to your superconscious higher self. Awesome, right? Also hard. Well, not hard. You just have to commit. So some organs and glands that are involved in this, as I talked about with the third eye, pituitary or pineal. I choose pituitary for this one. It is the master gland. The master gland affects our adrenals, it affects our growth hormone, it affects reproductive hormones, and our thyroid. And the central nervous system, so it runs, all through the spine is where all the nerve systems are. So when you bring in that crown energy, it goes down into all the other chakras, your cerebral cortex. And it's an interesting note that your brain is actually more sensitive to what's going on inside your body. There are more receptors and sensitive nerve endings than there are to what's happening outside of you. So we're always trained to be outward and looking outward and getting value and showing up outward. But really, the power is to turn inward and pay attention to what's going on inside, because that is really where the brain can control, actually, what is going on outside the body. So really, I can't stress this enough. The more that you take care of your internal systems, and I don't just mean physical ones, I mean your beliefs and your emotions and your patterns and the filters that you use to perceive the world, the more you work to heal those and take them up a level, the more the outer world will shift and change for you. This is not woo-woo. This is real. And anyone who's gone through the awakening process can tell you. And if you would like some help, I totally help people with this. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Some violet signs that your crown chakra is out of whack. If you have depression, alienation, confusion, apathy, boredom, lack of inspiration about life, even ADD and ADHD are involved in this. Inability to learn, because it's blocked. It's shutting you off literally from your higher self, right? So got to get that checked out. The planet for this is Uranus, which is about change and rebellion. Some stones for this are diamond and amethyst. They really help you connect to the higher vibrations. And some ways to support this chakra, absolutely meditation. It's the number one. Meditation brings calmness and order to the mind, and then that controls and relaxes the central nervous system. It just brings more order to what's going on. But you can also use meditation to solve problems. So you sit down to meditate and you bring a problem or a question with you, and then you release it to the universe and just open yourself up. Visualize it opening up like that 1,000-petal lotus flower, and then just receive. Tap into the universal field, the collective consciousness, the divine intelligence, whatever you want to call it. Just tap into it, connect to being one with everything, and then allow yourself to receive information. Learning how to get into that observer mode and be positive about that is another way to support this. The more we can be in observer mode, the more choice we have in how we react, or act, I should say. We don't just react. And then learning definitely about the patterns in your life. Because the divine information travels down the bodies, it gets more dense as it goes down. So it starts off as this unformless energy essence, but then we filter it through our understandings, our perceptions, our emotions, our beliefs, and everything until it becomes like rooted and solid. So the more you're aware of what those are going on, the easier it is to get down into that root, as we've talked about many times, and pluck it out and change it with something that is of a higher value, a higher vibration. So this chakra is especially nourished by any spiritual practice, more than anything else. Have a daily routine, have some way to connect with the divine, not necessarily in a religious context if you're not religious, but just understand that there is something more that we are all connected to, and make attempt to connect to that. So a centering thought for today is, I honor the divine within me and all living things. So my name is Christine Dawsey, and I help women with energetic blocks, resistance, and misalignment so that they can connect to their higher selves. This was your daily microdose of sacred vitality. Tomorrow we are moving on to other fun subjects. Please feel free to drop a comment if there's something that you would like me to address. And I'm going to be moving into some examples of some things as well. I hope you enjoyed today. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.